I've never seen a movie that feels like 17 movies in one. Chase Lee Hockey here with the Blue Futon reviewing Jawan, which means soldier. So what is this movie about? You get called a simple premise, but I don't know if it is because the movie starts off with like something extremely violent. You're like, what the hell is going on? We're about to get into some bonkers territory. Then we go into present day where it's like train robbery and then the farmers and then the bankers and then the health ministry and then crying and then a marriage and then more crying and then a reunion and more crying, and then we're in a prison and more crying, and this random, blast from the past about horrible guns, and then more crying, and at the very end we get a badass car chase sequence, and then more crying, and then teaming up. I'm just like, and then messaging throughout. This is a crazy movie that I think put way too much on the screen, but there was enough fun elements overall. When I say that timeline of what I did, it truly felt that way because you don't know what you're getting yourself into, and then when you're on this train sequence, it's like, okay, the crying. Let's talk. I'm not going to do good or pauses. I'm going to talk about in general when I'm talking about this movie. The crying. I swear, every 15 minutes there are fake tears coming down people's faces. Like someone tells a story. People are bawling, especially in the train. There's this little kid that literally starts crying when he hears the story. I hate to say it, but I laugh. And then we go 15, 30 minutes later, another story is told. People are crying. 30 minutes later, people are crying. It's like, holy cow, like, I haven't seen this many, like, crying intermissions in a movie in forever. Like, so much fake crying in this movie, and it kind of annoyed me on some level. All right, then the actual story itself. It's interesting, but I feel like there's too many stories in here overall. Because I know we enter where it's like, something happened in the past and we go 30 years later. Which I'm like, oh, we're going to like some bloody territory, some brutal ass shit. But after that first opening, the brutality kind of disappears throughout. Yeah, there is some when we deal with this character, but everything else was more playful, more okay. There were some stakes to it, but not a lot of people were dying like they were in the first 15 minutes of the movie. Yes, like I said, it continues on when you go back to this character, but when we're not with that character, it's more playful. It's more like, oh, we're going to get married. We're going to figure out what these girls in jail are. We're going to figure out what this guy is really trying to do. Because what this guy is really trying to do is like say, the banks bail out the rich people, but the poor farmers get nothing. Or health ministry says all hospitals are in perfect condition, but actually it's the private hospitals that are in perfect condition, and then these public hospitals are trash. So there is a underlying like government failure, in this movie, but when it wants to connect it to the backstory of this gun manufacturing company just like killing 27 people, it doesn't mesh whatsoever, in my opinion. And then at the very end, it's basically a long ass monologue of like, you need to vote. You vote basically based on principle, not by party lines, etc., etc., what you think is done right. There is a lot of exaggerations here. Like he's like, I want every hospital in India to have all, medical supplies in 5 hours. That's physically and emotionally and mentally impossible. So there's stuff like that where you're like, okay, I understand what you're doing. You're going this like Robin Hood-esque style of story. But then when you're adding these other elements to this, it is clunky. It is all over the place. And I don't understand the tone, what you're trying to do for this film. But when it does come to the action set pieces, it is top notch. It is fun to watch. I've never seen a car chase where a car gets smashed like it did. So that was really, really fun. When all the practical stuff was on screen, I was enjoying the living shit out of it. When it comes to the dance and song sequences in this one, they weren't too bad, but there weren't nothing like over the top, like, oh shit, those are awesome, and nothing like those are pretty much trash. There was one that felt a little iffy, but it is what it is. Also, maybe I'm just, an American not understanding it. The little girl going to the main character to quote unquote get married or to like find a papa. I don't understand that storyline, like how that connects. Like How does that little girl ran away? Was he shopping for a wife, and then instead of the girl coming, the daughter comes? I didn't really understand that storyline. And maybe it's just me as well. Maybe it's just like Indian movies. It feels like marriage is like, oh, once you meet, marriage is next. Like there's no, oh, let me get to know you for 6 or a month. No, it's marriage. We're gonna do marriage right now. Like, oh, your daughter likes me. Oh, and I think my daughter likes you. A marriage. It's like, whoa, what are we doing? Like, you don't want to like see if the dynamics are gonna work out or actually know his past because apparently that comes back to haunt her. Okay, and like I said, there's a lot of story going on. We're talking about flashbacks. We're talking about a government, corruption movie. We're talking about a gun dealer selling horrible weapons to the military. There is so much going on in this film. I understand what it's going for, but like I said, it's clunky. It's all over the place. I understand the good intentions of the movie, but on some levels it can be preachy, and it did feel like an election year movie for India. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but it just felt that way. Yes, I understand worldwide people feel like the government isn't doing enough, and that's probably true. It feels like the government's intentions for the people isn't well enough, and the movie does have a point when it comes to voting where people vote on those lines of like, you know what, I hate that guy, so I have to vote for this guy. Or even though it's like, we've been having crime in the city of San Francisco for 100 years, but it's been run by Democrats for 120 years. Let's keep voting Democrat. It's like, the movie kind of goes that way. It's like, yo, like, it's about principle at this point of like, are you doing what's good for you? Are you doing what's good for like the Twitter or the X or the Facebook of like, I voted for this, so don't cancel me. But overall, Jawan Soldier, which I don't know if that's even the right title either, because the Soldier storyline doesn't really start until like the hour and 45 minutes into this film. So, like I said, this movie's all over the place. It's clunky, but did I have fun with it? Yes. Would I rewatch it again though? I don't know. So Jawan will receive a 3 out of 5 with Futons because at 60%. Let's see the critics' news scores gave this one. So you have critics at 89%, audience score 93%. There's 9 critics. I'm curious. We have a 3 out of 5, kind of like me. 4 out of 5. This guy did not like it whatsoever. A 4 out of 5, a 4 out of 5, a 5 out of 5. This ain't a 5 out of 5, I can promise you that. Yeah, I like this one at the very end. It's like you don't know where the director actually wants to go. But yes, this is a very on-the-nose movie. I just thought it was good, but it wasn't like good. So anyway, 60, 89, 93. Chase like with the blue futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One of the things Futon Topia, Futon thing. It's a great freaking day. Biggest issue. This movie is just, there's so much happening on screen, and the connection just didn't connect for me.